right. What's been up, dude? How are you?
Been good, man. How you been?
I've been all right, living out here in corn country.
Yeah, where are you living right now?
I've been out in Iowa still for the past, it's been
Okay,
total of almost 3 years now.
I can never keep up because I remember you started off going out there, then you came back for a little while, right? For prep.
I came back for like, yeah, I want to say like three or 4 months, and then maybe being a little bit longer. And then I ended up going back, and now I've been here like steady for, yeah, over 2 years.
How do you like it?
Man, it's such a different style of living. The
Yeah.
East Coast is beautiful, but the people out here are so nice. Like
Yeah.
Iowa nice or Midwest nice is a thing. So
Uh-huh.
like that's like a huge deal, and there's no traffic whatsoever. So I don't know. There's like those two things just make a difference. And plus, with where I work in customer service, you've been at GNC where you
Yeah.
get customers who don't even want to talk to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And that makes your job hard. So everyone talks to me here. So it's nice. It's easy.
Yeah. That was I had that same culture shock when I moved down to Richmond, Virginia a few years back. It was actually 9 years ago now, which is crazy. But yeah, because
I
that's
remember when
that's
you did that.
still on the East Coast, but it's more south. And it's way more south than New England. So I remember going down there and it's weird. Like you walk by people on the street and they like say hello to you. They start conversations with you. And I'm from Rhode Island. So I'm like, what? If anyone looks at you here, it's like, what are you looking at?
It's the polar opposite, and people don't understand unless you've lived in like the city, like kind of like the New York, Chicago area, but it's
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Now you met Max Tuning out there, didn't you?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
did. Yep.
so? Real quick, I never knew why you went down there. Was it just kind of like a change of pace at the time?
Yeah, exactly. I felt like the people I was hanging around weren't toxic, but they weren't really productive. Like I never went to college because I knew I wanted to do something on my own with my own thing, create NWB. I wanted to do what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go to college. So for me, like staying focused 100% of the time was really important. And as I entered my 20s, 21 years old, I left right after I turned 21 years old. I started realizing that a lot of people I was around were just into the partying and nothing else but that. And that wasn't like conducive to me growing or getting better or making my own way.
Were you doing the YouTube thing, right? Pretty full force at that time?
Yeah. So I got started technically I got started in 2009. I really got cruising in 2010. And then I didn't move to Virginia until 2012.
Now,
so I've been doing it, but I've been working full-time jobs alongside it.
I was going to say that was GNC around that time.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, before that, I'd done construction, landscaping, restaurant work, all that. And then finally GNC. And GNC was, for 20 years old, GNC was paying really well. It was a salary with commission, 401k. I didn't have to break my back or sweat. So it was really nice for 20 years old after doing the jobs I had done. But my goal was to, build my own brand. And then, so when I finally quit GNC, it was kind of like a leap of faith. I just gotten out of a really nasty relationship that was like a headache. And so that was just like exhausting. No, this was after that. This is a different relationship after. Carly was like high school flick.
Who was between Carly? I can't remember.
Someone named.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was like it was whatever. It wasn't. There's no dramatic story to it, but it was just like.
I don't think I knew you at the time. I just was watching your life.
I don't think so. Yeah. So I got out of that, and that was like a headache at the time. And then like the friends I was around weren't really productive at the time. And I just I needed to get out. I felt smothered in Rhode Island. And my cousin, whom I've always been really close to, he's like literally like a brother to me. We grew up together. We spent every summer here at this beach house. This is the view. So we're really, really close. I mean, he's closer than a sibling to me. And he was living down there. So I decided to pack up at 21 and moved 500 miles down the coast and live with him. And it was one of the best moves ever. And that's also when I was like, screw the 9-to-5 job. I had a savings at that point and I wasn't making much off the YouTube yet at all, but I was like, we're just do or die. We're going to make this work.
How was that at that time? Right. Like, so what was the YouTube income like and how consistent and steady it was? Because everyone's always curious, and especially at that time, it was probably, I remember it being quite beneficial, a little bit more lucrative than it is now.
Yeah, you got paid more like per click back then, but my channel was also way smaller back then, so it kind of it evened out. Like if I had like the CPMs that they gave back then during the peak of my channel really blew up, that would have been awesome money. But back then I wasn't making much at all. I think I was making like my total income with that and like the tiny little joke sponsorships I had at that time. I think I was making between $600 to $1,100 a month off everything.
Wow,
So it was like
that's
it was
not
like
as
enough
much as people think.
no, once I got cruising, I ended up making good money. Like by 2015, when things were cranking, I was having months where I'd make over 15 grand in a month.
Yeah, but I still remember at that time when you moved out to Virginia, the videos were still getting what, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 or no?
No, not yet. No, some
No,
would get like,
really.
yeah, it felt like that back then.
Maybe
Like
I was just immersed.
we've kind of had view inflation. I only had 33,000 subscribers, and that was enough for me to
That was a
quit
lot
my
back then,
job.
though.
And that was like a big deal back then. Yeah, nowadays that wouldn't be anything.
With Matt
But
Ogus and
yeah,
you know, that whole crew.
yeah. So I had to live tight for a while, obviously. But honestly, after spending 12-hour days in like the same four walls, working for someone else, making someone else money, I didn't even care. I was like, I'll live on a budget for a while, as opposed to having to literally just waste my life making money for someone else in some building I don't even want to be at every day.
Yeah, of course. And that's, I mean, that's the goal for most people. Just most don't have the balls to actually kind of do it. And essentially,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how long were you down there for?
Only a year.
Okay.
I was down there for a year, and then I ended up missing Rhode Island. I missed, because I didn't know anybody besides my cousin, and I'm cool with solitude. I function really well being alone. I actually love solitude, but
As well.
yeah, but I mean, it was just like, you start missing friends and family. I think the big thing was, looking back in hindsight, I kind of went there to escape, which is not a good way to go somewhere new. I think if I had gone there, I don't know, with a little more closure, like going there literally just to experience moving instead of like running away, I probably would have ended up being more comfortable sticking around. But also Richmond, Virginia was an awesome city to experience. I'm glad I experienced it, but it's also not my style at all. I mean, like
No.
they look at you sideways if you have any gel in your hair. it's a totally different like style down there.
You're too Jersey Shore for that, bro.
Yeah, I got that all the time.
So when you were coming back, right, was that when your channel was kind of kicking off? You had this Converse thing going on at one time.
Yeah. Well, that paints the picture of how big 33K subs was back then. That's when I had Converse reach out to me and support me with like free shoes, which was really awesome.
I remember those.
I had been Scott Herman's first collaboration, which at the time Scott Herman was like, the Mac Daddy of YouTube.
Scott was like the informational, how-to guy. And his physique has been in shape for the past 15 years. His physique has looked like on point always. He hasn't aged. He looks exactly the same.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, he ages like a Twinkie in a plastic bag. He just doesn't age. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, so from there, you ended up coming home.
Mm-hmm.
And then who were you working with at the time for companies other than, the small little sponsors here and there?
At that time, let's see what I have. I was working with Cellucor and RTN predominantly at that time, and I had my own clothing line running at that time as well.
Was that when you were selling the sweatshirts?
Yeah. That's when I had, right before I moved to Virginia, I started the clothing line. And then in Virginia is when I launched like those NWB Strong sweatshirts, those hoodies, most comfortable hoodie in the world.
I used to have one. I wish I still had it because it reminded me of like an old school logo. It was just a simple black and white, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like that Run DMC logo.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
Yeah. I love those. And they're really comfortable. I wish I had mine still too. I don't have any more either.
No?
No, they're long gone.
Man.
They're extinct.
Hopefully someone will pop one up eventually.
Yeah, someone's got to have one somewhere. And then so I didn't have. That's about it. And then pretty soon after, when I came home, I started getting linked up with bigger, more legit sponsors like Isatori, and they were my first like under salary contract sponsor. So they paid me a salary plus commission, and I got to travel everywhere with them. That was like a dream sponsorship right there.
What were the other deals like though? So just to tag back a little bit, what was the RTN deal like? What was the other sponsor like? Was it just a product deal? Was it a commission based?
Strictly commission and products, of course. So I could get as many products as I want anytime I wanted.
There wasn't an allotment with a certain amount.
No.
Okay.
It was pretty lax. It was whenever I called it and whenever I needed it. And then I got a commission whenever my code was used, which could do really well or could not do well. It depends on how you spin it, how much you put into spinning it, and then also if your followers resonate with it. There are some products I found that my people would really resonate well with, like Slingshot. Everyone loves Slingshot, all the gear there. And then there's been other things where, like, you know, these days I think because how saturated the market is these days, I can't move a pre-workout to save my life anymore.
Well, pre-workouts are relatively, you know, composed of the same three main ingredients essentially. So it's, you know, kind of a watered down market a lot. Most
don't even have those anymore. I mean,
no, exactly.
You're basically just drinking Kool-Aid and caffeine now.
So back then when you would make a post, right, how impactful would that post be in return for your sales? I mean, would it be significant? Or would you kind of have to, you know, kind of plan it out into a video posts and then, or would it just be organic?
You try to make it as organic as possible. That was my thing. I always liked tying in any sponsored post like organically into the video. I didn't. You do some blatant like ads here and there, but like I really didn't like the idea of like, hey, pausing this video, a message from my sponsors, buy this. I didn't like that. I like having it like nice and smooth, kind of flow right into the video.
But to the point, like where like if you were like, all right, man, I got a car payment coming up and you know, like I need to make a post. Would it, you know, is it that like where you post about it and your sales increase?
Yeah, sometimes it would be. Sometimes it was hard to tell. Sometimes you'd see it pick up randomly without posting, and that might be like an older video just recirculating again. Sometimes you post and nothing really happened or nothing dramatic happened, like boost wise. But then, sometimes you would post and you'd see a huge jump all of a sudden. Like it was tough. A lot of times I couldn't see the commission. Like I would just see it at the end of the month once I got paid.
You would just get a check.
Only more recently did they start laying it out where you can kind of actually log in and see what your commission, like how your commission is doing day by day, week by week. And then I was able to start noticing a difference. I do remember I worked with a company once that sold, I don't remember what the name of the company was. They sold like little, like the cheap jewelry. It was like dog tags, kind of like customized dog tags, but for like lifting stuff. It was like lifting related, something that totally only would have flown back in like 2012. And I remember I did a post for them. I think they paid me to do a post. I can't remember. Maybe it was a video post. I don't remember. But they paid me to promote them in some way, shape, or form, probably on video. And I did. And they sent me the demographics of their sales and site activity for that month. And it was really funny. On the weekend that I posted it, you just saw like their views were like chopping at the same range. Yeah. And then when I posted it was like way up in the sky and then came back down again soon afterwards. So I mean, it's cool seeing feedback like that.
Cool.
I noticed it. One more thing to answer that too is I also noticed it. I noticed it on my own sales as well on my own site, like with programs and clothing. If I'd make a post, I definitely notice like more orders start flowing in directly after the post. Yeah. And if I went quiet for a little while, it might slow way down.
That makes sense. Yeah. I was just kind of wondering back then, you know, what you actually got out of it and if it was worth it. So then you ended up getting a contracted sponsor. So that was like a monthly payment type of deal and units, and you're saying you got to travel and do all that.
So it was a set monthly commission. I mean, set monthly salary, or you could look at it for the year, however you want it, but I got paid every month. And then a commission on top of that, and then all the supplements. Those companies on paper, like under the contract, they would put like, you know, only a allotted amount for every month of supplements I could have. Like you can get like X amount every single month, and that's
200 to 2, you know, something like that.
Exactly. But like, but they never really went by that. Like because I was always a hard worker and I always put a lot into the people I represented, the companies I represented. So, and they saw that. So I could just hit them up anytime and ask for as much as I wanted and they'd give it to me. And then I never really abused that either, because I just only took what I used, what I needed.
Yeah. I feel like you've never been a big supplement guy. You take
I I always love my pre-workouts just because, you know, I'm a huge stimulant junkie, and certain pre-workouts for me just hit perfect compared to other ones for the energy. And of course, some pre-workouts are better dose than others. But yeah, I didn't get too deep into, you know, I like my whey proteins. I like my pre-workouts. You know, that was like the foundation right there.
Yeah. So you got to travel with Isotory, and this
Mhm.
was, so this is all after you got back. You're traveling
Yep.
with Isotory at this point. This is what, 2000, mid 2015, 16?
Yeah, it's actually started in 2014, I think.
Okay.
And then, yeah, 15 really got cranking. Yeah. 15 was like probably like the peak of everything.
Now, this is
15 to
when you
16.
were switching over to your channels, or were you switching over prior to the powerlifting side of it? Because I don't know if, because your channel originally started as a bodybuilding channel,
Right,
right?
right,
And then,
yeah.
you know, as it got going, if it switched to powerlifting and then kind of transitioned back into like a hybrid style, I would say.
Yep. So from 2009, so basically the quick synopsis of the whole thing is 2009, I noticed that my little competition videos were doing well, so I did some interactive videos. But then after graduating high school, I was going to put it all to bed and move on from bodybuilding. My friends convinced me to do one more regional show, and I ended up winning that, gaining my first sponsor, doing my first paid DVD shoot and photo shoot, and then that's also when I became a YouTube partner, I think, as well. And that's kind of when I was like, oh, wait a minute, I think we have something here. So then I set my sights fully on YouTube. That's when I started the Vault series in 2010. And then that's when I got cruising. So everything was bodybuilding and full-time YouTube from then on. 2013, I moved back to Rhode Island, and I'm starting to get kind of bored now. I'm starting to fizzle out. I'm not competing in bodybuilding anymore because I had burnt out of that in 2012. And I was just getting bored with making the same content. And I was really losing steam. And people were starting to see that too. The channel views were starting to die. This is right after I got home from Virginia. And stumbled upon powerlifting. Long story short, stumbled upon powerlifting, fell in love with powerlifting. And it must have just been lucky timing. I think that was right at the time when Candida was blowing up. Omar Isuf was really getting big. Powerlifting was like the huge wave at that time. And I didn't jump onto it because of that. It literally just happened to work that way. Maybe I helped the wave. I don't know. But either way, it totally rejuvenated the channel. Views started spiking way up. Subscribers started growing like crazy. And that was around 2014 when I really kicked into powerlifting and shifted gears. And then kept it like that for the next few years, strictly powerlifting. Things did really, really, really well. And then 2015, the end of 2015, things started getting a little stagnant in views again. Not bad. Channel was still going up, but things were just feeling a little boring. That's when I decided to kind of do the hybrid, and I did that cut for Isotory and documented that.
I remember that.
Made the comeback series. I took a break from YouTube for a few months, did a comeback series. That series was awesome. First episode got like 250,000 views. Average video view, like on a daily upload, was like 45 to 65K minimum. And that's when we started making like $15,000 months and stuff like that, just off of the YouTube and like the connected sponsorships and stuff.
Now, when you get that, you know, that check in the mail from basically just filming your life at that point, in accumulation of all those years, what's the feeling? I mean, because 15 grand a month just from YouTube, that most people don't consider a job, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you remember that being like a milestone? Do you remember that being cool for you?
Yeah. Because I'm not gonna try to do the math off the top of my head because I'm not good at math. But 15 grand, if you average that out every single month, I mean that's well into the six figures. Which at the time, I was a 24-year-old kid, and I was just doing only what I loved and not a thing more. And I remember I was on cloud nine actually, because I remember that first 15K month. I had been having like 8 to 10K months like leading up to that, which is still awesome. That was still over six figures.
So that was pretty consistent for that.
Yeah.
Time.
And that first 15 one hit, I think I might have my dates mixed up at this point, but I want to say it was maybe January of 2016. So it was the payment for my final month of 2015. And I was amped, man. I remember going to the gym and I was like, man, I'm finally doing this. I remember thinking that. I was like, I'm finally manifesting what I've been fantasizing about since I was a teenager, busting my ass, barely passing high school and working 3 jobs on the side. Or since I was feeling like crap, not going to college because everyone else went to college, and I felt like I was getting judged left and right because I was busy, doing landscaping or construction work or masonry work to pay the bills while pursuing this NWB thing, or quitting my job and living off basically savings check to check that first year in Virginia. So when I finally hit this point, I was like, wow. I was like, I did it. This is crazy.
Was it kind of like almost like an FU to all the people that kind of doubted the career choice of yours? Because I mean, you kind of created your own career.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Yes and no. By
Did
that
that
time,
drive you to?
yeah, yes, it definitely did. By that time, I think anybody who's achieved, not even just financially, I think anyone who's achieved anything that they're passionate about can attest to this. But when you start off and you start off getting doubted, your mindset's kind of like, oh, I can't wait till one day show everybody. If I ever achieve this, I'm going to give the big finger to everybody. But then, like, by the time you actually achieve that, you're so wrapped up in your passion day to day, you're not really thinking about that anymore. So I remember by the time I got that, I was no longer in a place where I was like, F you to anybody. I was instead just so happy to be doing what I loved and to seeing results from it. So at
It
that point, I
became
didn't really
bigger.
care. Yeah. But I will say, I do think like subconsciously, I still had a bit of a chip on my shoulder from that. Cause I do remember I got just immature about having money. Like I didn't invest well with it at all. I budgeted to an extent, but like, I went and bought designer shoes. We booked like lavish vacations and like stupid things like that. I never went out and financed like some supercar or anything huge. In fact, I made myself buy property before I ever bought a car. Hence why I'm still driving the old Bentley today, 10
That
years
was
later.
that was what I had on my mind. I was gonna ask that question later on, dude.
Yeah. So I did do that smart. That part was smart. I made myself buy property first, which I did. And I'm happy with that. But man, I ended up running myself into what I ended up doing is becoming complacent. I became complacent because I was young and I'd had money for the first time and had a chip on my shoulder about it.
How
Like
long
in the
did
back
that
of my
last
mind.
then? So that was going on.
Yeah. So that went on probably until I want to say 2016. In hindsight, I started seeing like late 2016, I started seeing like the shifting of the gears a little bit.
Mhm.
Mostly my behavior becoming more complacent, not growing business wise anymore. The writing was on the wall. 2017 was the nosedive down. And by 2018, I had, at the lowest, I had $800 left in my bank account in 2018.
You're kidding.
Yeah. I had to rebuild it all back up from there, which in hindsight was the best learning and growing experience I had in my life, to have that kind of money, to live that life, and then to lose it all immediately, to get humbled out, and then to learn from those mistakes. And I kept telling myself, next time I have money, I'm going to be smarter with budgeting. I'm going to invest, which I did. I invested immediately this time around, coming back from it.
Mhm.
And it was the best learning experience for me to smarten the hell up and just mature with money. So I'm glad it happened. But yeah, it was a
When you
ride at
were
the time.
when you were at that point, did you own your condo at this time or your home
Yeah,
at this time?
I own. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't. I still had a mortgage because my whole plan with the condo was to actually use it as a rental property. So
Mhm.
the idea was it was to buy it, to live in it for a couple of years. So I didn't have to put 20% down. If you buy something with the intent of it being a rental property, you have to put 20% down, which isn't the biggest deal, like if that's your plan. But my thinking was, why spend my own money when I could put a little bit of my own money down and essentially have the
Absolutely.
tenants pay for it for me?
Mhm.
But I ended up actually falling in love with it. I got tired of moving so much, for one. I got really sick of moving every year. And then two, I actually fell in love with it. The condo is beautiful. It's 3 floors, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, finished basement, beautiful back deck, backyard. So Ariana and I love living there. It's not going to be our settle down place. I'm still going to rent it out. But I ended up not renting it out as nearly as fast as I thought I was going to.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that left me with a mortgage to pay, which the mortgage isn't bad, but yeah, it got stressful at that point. In 2018, I remember I had $800 in my account. I had a little bit of like residual income coming in from sponsors, but it was like minimal just because I was doing so little at that point, and it would just go right to like the mortgage and bills and stuff at that point.
So how did that affect your psyche? Because at that time, like your job is to be social on social media.
Right.
So was it harder to pick the camera back up and get in this flow, or how did you kind of bounce back from that time? And yeah, what did you do?
For me, picking the camera up has never really been that hard, no matter what my mood or psyche is. So like, no, I think if anything, it drove me to pick the camera up more, because like, shit, I need more views, I need more content, I need to make more money. Let's pump out more videos and stuff like that. But that was kind of flawed thinking, because at that point I was just ramming my head into a wall. What I was missing, the ball I was missing, was I needed to think smarter business wise. and step out of my comfort zone more. I'd fallen right into a comfort zone. So that's when I actually decided to start doing a real bodybuilding cut again for the first time. The Isatory cut was like kind of like a half-ass photo shoot cut. 2018 wasn't a contest prep cut by any means, but it was definitely a more serious cut where I paid attention to it and put more into it. And with that, I made plans. So I made a plan to do a series around that, which always drives up traffic. And then I made plans to get a website going finally, get programs going finally, because I learned so much on training and programming, and I had good knowledge with that. And I actually knew how to really create power building programs based on that knowledge. So I was like, all right, I can actually offer real value to people now. So I created that, got my own business rolling there. I had silent partnered with somebody on a clothing line. So I got that going, and I just started generating more and more content and blowing things up. And then that also brought in more and more sponsors. So I became more, I guess, aggressive on taking sponsorships, but still in a smart way. You don't ever want to just promote bullshit. But I remember like, as the series started growing, I'd get way more offers for like one of sponsorship deals, which are awesome. That's where a company might pay you a couple of grand just to do a one-time promotion, maybe throw their stuff in a 30-second clip in a video or something like that. So I started getting a lot of those. I started ironing those into things. But it was like discouraging at times too, just because unlike 2015, when I did this big comeback series and did a cut and documented it and it blew up in views, now at 2018, my YouTube was kind of fading. I'd been on there for a long time. People had seen it and done it already. The whole industry was getting more saturated. So now the series did not pick up crazy views or traction. The views were still pretty low in comparison, which was really discouraging at times. And like, so mentally, that was like probably the biggest struggle, feeling like I was trying to swim upstream.
Interesting. So you weren't with the company, you weren't with Isatory at that time either. So you were just kind of working with Alpha, I believe, the clothing company.
Yep. I had,
and then all your programs.
Yeah. Isatory and I had ended right before this downcline. This like downward trend began. Actually, it was, we had come to the end of our 2-year contract, and we actually negotiated signing back up again. But at this point, the CEO had left, and a lot of the people that were in there had left, and new management had come in, and it was a lot of guys from the corporate GNC world. And they really wanted to make it GNCE, and they wanted a lot of new things that I was not on board with. Like, they wanted me to go store to store and do demos, and like, I had done that when I started with RTN. Like, I had paid my dues in that area. I didn't want to go backwards, so we decided just to part ways. And it was very amicable. Like, I still kept in touch with a lot of guys there. Once in a blue moon, I'd reach out and see if they could send me some pre-workout, because I love the pre-workout, and they would. So it was a nice breakup. But at that point, yeah, I had only had Alpha. I had signed with BPI for a little bit, and that was on salary.
That's
too.
right.
And that was on salary, which is pretty good. But
that's a pretty big company back then. I mean, it still is, right? I haven't seen BPI in a while, but at the time, that's pretty cool to get a contract from them.
It was big. But they had promised a bunch of things, like in the creative aspect, that they didn't deliver upon. And then that made me uninspired to really push for them super hard. And then so after like 7 months, we were just kind of like, yeah, let's just part ways, because neither one of us were really pushing for the other one at that point. So yeah, all I had in 2018, I think, was YouTube ad revenue, which wasn't what it used to be. I think I was down to making like $2,000 a month from it at that point, I think. And then Alpha Clothing, and that was it, I think. At that time. And like I said, I had the mortgage, and I had the bills, expenses, utilities, all that stuff. So, it wasn't a lot. I think when I had the $800 bank account, I think I got paid for the month, put it all into bills and utilities, and maybe my account went up to like $1,000 at the end of it or something. Like, it was a struggle.
It's so interesting, because basically your income is based on the traction of your life, in a sense.
Yeah.
Where as a person from a 9 to 5 doesn't have that really. I mean, even if they slack off here and there, they may be able to get away with it for work. But if you slack off at all, it greatly affects views, and that greatly affects, income essentially for you.
Yeah, definitely. And you're in charge of thinking way ahead. Like, you got to be a constant visionary and stay 10 steps ahead of like, all right, you're doing great now. How about next year? How about the year after that? What's your plan to move forward? How are you going to keep people engaged and keep the channel moving and branch businesses off that channel, so when the channel does fade, you still have businesses running? Like, it's a lot. And so what I was doing, my job there was the best job in the world. And I wouldn't change a thing if I can go back in time. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was euphoric, man. I mean, it was like a rock star lifestyle. But at the same time, it was also really stressful. And there were times where I almost envied somebody with a regular 9-to-5 job. So I'm like, man, you don't have to think. You just go in, clock in,
Less
show up
thought,
at work.
exactly, right? For people.
Oh
sometimes.
man, at times I'm like, that sounds amazing.
So then you were creating the programs, trying to set some income up for yourself. And this is 2019 at the time. Right?
End of 2018 is when I
End
got
of 2018.
cranking. Yeah,
okay.
Fourth quarter.
So take me through 2019 and 2020 for the YouTube deal and what you were doing at that point.
Yeah, so end of 2018 we got cranking. We did the cut. Things really picked up, and it's funny. I remember going over taxes for that year, and I made literally, oh my god, I think I made like 3/4, if not like 4/5 of my entire year's income, all in like the last 2 months of the year of 2018. Like
All
just
from
because
when you did the last show.
2018 was when I did that photo shoot cut.
Okay.
And documented it and got the site set up and the program set up, and the site made a killing, and I got sponsorships rolling again. And so we started picking things up nicely. It was like a breath of fresh air. 2019, we continued that. 2019, 2019, we traveled a ton. That's when I traveled over to Texas a lot to reunite with Max Tuning, Christian Guzman, all those guys. And I ended up returning to the bodybuilding stage for the first time in 7 years, and did Christian's summer shredding show and documented the whole thing. And that was a lot of fun. And then we started getting like better months. But I remember we returned to some $8,000 and $10,000 months there. But there was still something different about it. It was a great year. You know, I met Mark Bell that year and I joined the Slingshot team that year, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been an awesome sponsorship. And I'm still with them. I still have like my code is active with them and stuff. Even though I don't do YouTube anymore, but that was a great year. A lot of traveling, things picked back up, views picked back up a little bit, but I remember it's still stressful. There's this underlying stress where the views were just not picking back up to where they used to be. I think they would get to like 15K on average or something like that. You know, some videos hit 20K, some would dud out at like 10K. You know, so we're way down from where we were at our peak, where it was like 45 to 65K, which is like depressing, especially when it's your entire job. People don't get that. People will hear like influencers complain or get stressed about views, and like, dude, it's just views. Who cares? Do it for the passion, which is true. You should do it for the passion, but it's really hard not to focus on your views when they do correlate to direct income.
But there's a turning point, because everyone starts usually for the passion, but it gets to a point where it switches. And you have to start looking at it, because if you don't, you're an idiot.
Yeah. And it can be tough too, to keep that quality going once that pivotal point happens. You see it in music a lot. Underground artists switch their style up once they become mainstream. And like, you see it everywhere in every single industry. But yeah, I mean, it's like, if it's what you do all your life, it's like you end up, no matter how mentally self-aware you try to be, it's almost impossible to not accidentally identify with the amount of views and the amount of likes you get, especially when you get so heavily rewarded for it. I mean, when you have lines of people like wanting to like take a picture with you and sign their iPhones and sign their belts and cool stuff like that, and like you get paid $3,000 from big companies like Gillette just to post a status for them on your fan page, and like you get brought out to every single cool event, red carpet event, and like you get to hang out with CT Fletcher and Kai Green and watch a movie next to them, and like, I mean, it's a crazy feeling to get rewarded like that for what you're doing and have it be all these like views on a screen. And so when they start declining, you're like, that's my whole identity. My whole soul is dying. And it shouldn't be like that. It's not a healthy way to be. It's not a good way to be, but it's kind of hard to avoid when it's your livelihood and like your entire life.
Even if you don't try, like, you know, it still creeps in. Those things still creep in. It's almost the only way to avoid it is to post and ghost. But at that point, you lose interaction with your, you know, with the viewers, with the people, you know, who are watching you, where you're essentially getting your income from.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. Yeah. Unless you know your videos will go really viral, you really can't maintain any sort of a livelihood from, you know, being that channel that posts only every few months or something like that. So in 2019, things were picking back up, and I was making income again, and I was getting sponsorships, and I was getting more attention and activity again, and pound for pound, the loyalty was awesome because the site sales and the commissions were insane, which is I'm grateful for. But the views still weren't coming back. And it was just, no matter how well things were going in the moment, it was that writing on the wall that was saying, hey, you're on the sunset phase of this thing, man. Like it's not coming. This thing's in its old age now. And, if Summer Shredding couldn't even pick that back up, then that's your sign. So then in 2020, obviously the world got shut down. I decided in 2019, that bodybuilding show was my last one ever. It was so fun coming back to the bodybuilding stage and the contest prep. I remember talking to you about it. I caught the bug all over again. I mean, I loved it, but
if you're in it, sometimes it's fun.
Yeah. When you're in it. Yeah. But I didn't do a full 20-week prep, and like, it was definitely more of like an exhibition show than an actual, this is my life kind of show. And so I think if you're not going to live and breathe bodybuilding, you probably shouldn't bother competing in it, just because it's so much stress on the body, relationships, mentally, everything. So I retired happily, very happy. I reconnected with the stage one last time. It was incredible. I'm glad I got to have Ariana by my side for one bodybuilding show. She never got to see any of that. And that was literally what put the roof over our head. So it was cool having her be able to experience that with me, and happy to put that to bed on a great note. And then 2020, everything got shut down. So there's no traveling or anything like that. I just focused heavily on the strength gains, really focusing on power building this time, not becoming fat and sloppy, keeping the physique, training for the physique, but also doing strength. And my strength numbers went up like crazy. I hit my best numbers in the gym ever that year. And YouTube was maintaining. It was about the same as it was in 2019. But towards the very end, it started going on this downward slope. And like by the very end, like I'd say start of 2021, up until about March when I finally retired YouTube, those first few months of 2021, the views for the first time ever did a real like, okay, we're tapping out. They went down to 10K. It was hard to hit 15K all of a sudden. Then eventually it was like, oh my God, if a video hits 10K, that's a good video. That's when I was like, all right, it's time. We've already let this channel run down to low views as it is. So you could say that already throughout its dignity, but like whatever dignity the channel had, I wanted to maintain and leave off on. I didn't want the channel to become one of those like jokes. Yeah. You see it, man. It's tough when it's all you know for so long. It's like an addiction. Plus you love doing, every YouTuber loves making videos. It's hard to put it down. And you see, like, I remember seeing video, like channels that back in like 2011 were huge, million subscribers, million view channels. And I go and look at them now, like, oh, I forgot about this guy. Let me see what he's doing. And they still upload, but their videos have like 1,000 views now. And it's like, man, that's sad. You almost feel embarrassed for them.
It almost seems like the lifespan is around that 10 to 12, or they'll catch a wave, for a little bit, and then it'll die out. Yeah. Did you notice between each rise and each dip, the next rise, was it always, was it always a little bit less, prior?
No, there was definitely, it was literally like watching a stock go into a bull run and then a bear run. Like the ups and downs when I was still on the rise, each new rise was bigger. So for example, like, when I moved back from Virginia and I started phasing out of bodybuilding, things got a little stagnant. Views started falling just a little bit. Then I switched to powerlifting, and
come back up.
Things launched. I mean, it went crazy. I went from, I think I had 80K subs, 80,000 subs, maybe around the time I started powerlifting, and maybe averaging like 15,000 views per video or something like that. And then I started powerlifting, and suddenly all the views jumped into the 20,000 range on average. And subs quickly started climbing to 100,000, then 150,000, and the views went up to 30,000 on average. And so no, like when the channel was still in a growth state, you'd have ups and downs, but it'd all be in an upward trend no matter what. So every new up was a higher up. Finally, after 2016, when it peaked and it started coming back down, then it's like every new up was just like a higher, it was like a lower high. It wasn't, it lose weakness, it lose steam every time.
Okay. So 2020, you were still filming, then, just recently in the past 6 months now, the whole YouTube thing for you and social media has kind of been an afterthought for you. Take me up to, what's been going on with you in the last 6 months. Because I remember right before, for about 6 months prior, I remember you doing some day trading, and that was starting to be the beginning of your intro videos and all your Instagram stuff. So in your head, was that kind of your transition out, or?
Yeah. So let's see. How did the timeline go on that? I think it was 2020. Yeah, 2020 is about when I started getting into the trading, like really into it. Like I had always been fascinated by the stock market, and I had tried my hand at like doing penny stocks back in 2016 and just got demolished like almost everyone does, and didn't know what I was doing. So in 2020, I had been investing already. I've been like building like a dividend portfolio and things like that, like an IRA retirement. And I stumbled upon, I think I accidentally traded Tesla when it started blowing up. Accidentally meaning I bought it, saw I had a lot of profit really fast and sold. And I was like, oh my God, this is trading. And of course, that's how everyone starts, and that's how everyone loses money, because trading is an actual skill that you need to be educated on, and it requires a lot of discipline and a lot of learning. And that's why they say 90% of day traders lose money. It's because 90% of people have free access to it on their phone and just try it without learning about it. And so I learned very quickly that it's an actual skill that you need. It's like you need to go to college for it, basically. Of course, there is no college. So you need to take time to educate yourself, which I did. So studied my ass off, hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos I'd watch, taking notes and notebooks, learning about technical analysis and paper trading, which is where you trade with simulated money on the real live stock market, trading with real money, and then, you know, making some, losing some, trial and error. But I got really hooked in it. And at this time in 2020, I was still having spurts of success on the YouTube channel. Of course, sponsors are still paying well. Actually, by that, ironically, despite the views being in the toilet, when I left YouTube in 2021, I was actually doing like it was actually like the best I had been doing financially, at least pound for pound, in a very long time.
Mhm.
Like sponsors are coming in. I was getting sponsorship offers like every single week, which is ironic because the views were really low. But kind of like repeating 2012, when I took that leap of faith and I had this great job for my age at the time. I had this great job that paid really well, and it's cushy and guaranteed and benefits. And I decided to quit that and take a leap of faith to make scraps to pursue NWB. I kind of was repeating that again now in 2021, where YouTube and everything was paying really well at the moment, very comfortable, but I wasn't happy anymore. I was smothered. I was treading water, and it felt like it was done. And I was just stuck doing it because I was obligated to, because I had to pay the bills. So that's when I decided just to quit the cushy income of the YouTube life and just commit all to trading at this point. And at this time, I had been trading for, I think, about a year, full time for about a year solid now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even making much off of it because that's still very new. I was still very freshman, but I had savings. Obviously, I still had residual income I still do, from the website. My website, I still get orders on the website coming in, and I still get like commission from some sponsorships that the code's still active on. So I knew I was gonna be fine, and I had my investments and everything too. And so I was in a good spot this time. I was, like I said, I learned a lot from my crash in 2018. I learned a lot from that. So I corrected all those mistakes, and I had myself set up very nicely. So I was like, you know what? You're set up. You're not going to be sinking anytime soon, and you're smarter now. So take the plunge. Do what you did back in the day in 2012. And it literally is the same thing. So I sacrificed good given income for more unknown waters, but something that I'm passionate about, something that I'm consistently pushing myself in. And yeah, so in March of 2021, I finally hung up the YouTube channel for good, made my last video, which is probably my all-time favorite video I've ever made. It's just called Goodbye YouTube. Thank you for 12 years. Or I think it's my last video. Yeah, my last video dash. Thank you for 12 years of YouTube. And that's my favorite video. It's literally like 15-minute compilation of my entire career from start to finish. Like, it shows like the high school clips leading into like everything. It's so, and it's narrated in a cool way. I think it's the coolest video.
It almost made it sound like you weren't quitting.
Yeah, I left it a little ambiguous just because it was a huge shift. So I thought I was done, and I was planning to be done, but I wanted just to leave the door open in case, like, I didn't know if I'd have like an idea for one more video, or I knew I was done, but I didn't know if it'd be my very last video, basically. Yeah. I wanted to leave the door open in case I had one more video to do or something like that. So I left it a little ambiguous. I made it in a way where you could kind of assume it was the end video. It kind of had that vibe to it, you know, hence the title, Thank You for 12 Years. But
I went back recently I think
Mhm.
I was like 2 or 3 months ago and like looked at it again to like, I was like, he hasn't posted, huh? Oh, this really was a goodbye video.
Yeah.
I had to like rewatch it just to confirm it essentially.
And at the time, it was titled "Thank You for 12 Years of YouTube." I only went back recently and added my last video to the title just to make it official, like for
Oh,
anyone who's
okay. That makes
wondering.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on, Nick. Let
So
me shut this real quick.
yeah.
So yeah, so you're consistently you're day trading on a daily basis now for
Yeah,
work essentially.
yeah, that's my full time.
Okay.
I trade mostly. Well, my main focus is trading options on the blue chip stocks, and I do trade crypto on the side as well.
Now, what
And
is
I
explain that to me real quick because I'm completely green when it comes to blue chip, anything crypto.
yeah, yeah,
A brief rundown.
yeah, yeah. And to quickly pause on that real fast, I apologize if I like ramble about anything and use jargon that's kind of like what the hell. It's just like fitness. Like you get so familiar with fitness and you can talk to your fitness buddies about caloric deficits, or I wanted to get post workout insulin in, and people who aren't into fitness are like, what are you guys saying?
Yeah.
So all I do is chat with friends who also do trading. So you get familiar with talking
Sometimes you forget
market.
how to dumb it down. It's all right.
Yeah, you
I'll
just
do
get
my
familiar with
best to
talking
keep it.
market.
I usually tell people to explain it like a third grader so I can
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, so blue chip stocks are just essentially the big legitimate stocks, right? So you have penny stocks, which are
I've
basically
heard
just
of those.
trash
Yeah.
stocks. Yeah, they're trash stocks. They cost literally fractions of a cent to buy per share, and they're usually garbage. You don't want to buy and hold those. People will manipulate
Would
them a
that be a good
lot.
option to practice? Right. I've had some friends essentially try and like just practice with that a little.
I would not, honestly. If you want to practice, I recommend practicing with paper trading, which is almost every platform offers it now, but it's where um, you are trading the live real stock market with simulated money, and they'll give you like 200 grand of fake money. But that's a cool way to practice because you're trading the live stock market. It's not, you're on real time market. You're trading the stocks as they trade. But it's fake money. So if you end up destroying your entire account, you can just hit the reset button. You didn't actually lose any money. That's the
Yeah.
best way to practice while learning technical analysis, which is reading the charts. Charts are essentially just all a stock is supply and demand. It's that simple. And the charts are literally just showing you what the supply and demand is saying right now. So people will say like, oh, the charts, the technical analysis, that's all BS. It doesn't really work. It's literally just, it's like running a business, and the chart is your way of seeing what the supply and demand is saying. And once you learn how to read those charts, it's like putting a puzzle together. And actually, because I like it, I think it's really fun. It is like putting a puzzle together. So, but there's different types of stocks. So penny stocks are very, very, very risky, not good to invest in at all. Then you have smaller cap stocks, meaning they're more legitimate, but they're smaller. There's not as many people invested into them. There's not as much money behind them. And these would be like sometimes these stocks are $10 per share, something like that. Then you have mid cap stocks, which are like bigger companies, and then you have large cap stocks, and those are like your Facebooks, your Amazons, things like that, Tesla. So blue chips are just like the big legitimate companies. That's like the most dumbed down way to explain it. And so I stick with a lot of the blue chip stocks being Facebook, Microsoft, Tesla, Google, stocks like those. And I stay around those because those are all legitimate. They're not scammy. They've proven themselves as actually valuable. A lot of these are good stocks to actually be invested in as well as trade. And you can learn how they move. They start moving a certain way. And so I'll trade those. And I trade options, which are the original use for an option was say Nick Pinero is selling shares of I don't know, Nick's Muscle Juice, right? You're selling shares of Nick's Muscle Juice, and it's $50 per share right now, your company. And say I'm looking and I'm like, all right, I think it's September right now. I think by January of 2022, your shares are going to be up to $100 per share. I think your company's going to do real well. So I want to buy 100 shares of that, but I don't know if I want to take all that money and tie it up in your shares just yet. Now, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend all that money just yet. What I want to do is I want to basically put I want to put a bid on it, more or less. Like I want to put like nosies on your shares. I want to say, all right, I want to buy 100 of your shares at this price here at $50, but only if it reaches $100 or more by January. And then, so what I would do is we'd have this contract and I would pay you this premium for this. You'd be like, all right, here you go. Here's a guarantee of 100 shares if you want them by January at this price of $50 per share, no matter what the actual price is by the time January comes. And I pay you a premium for that. So you made some good money already. Say January comes around and I was right. They're up to $100 per share right now. I can go ahead and cash in on that. I can be like, all right, give me those shares. I get them for only $50 per share like we agreed upon. I already have 100 shares at a profit now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if January comes and I was wrong and your shares they tanked down to $20, I can say, you know what, scrap this. I don't want them. Throw the contract away. But you still get to keep your premium. So you still made money off that. And I didn't have to tie up all my money in shares that ended up tanking. I know it's a lot to digest. That's the basics of options. And then, so what I do is I just trade the premiums. I talked about the premium that you would get. There's a premium, and I trade those premiums on them.
Okay.
To make it real short and sweet.
So it's a little bit quicker of a deal at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not basically putting these dates in place.
Yeah. And there's things that go into it. You know, there are dates, and the further out your date goes, the more health and strength your contract's going to have. Options can be high risk. They can be very high reward. Options, you can take a little bit of money and stretch it a long way. They move like penny stocks do when you trade the premiums.
Can you do that for a day, essentially?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My quickest trade ever was 52 seconds.
All right.
Yeah, because there's bids on it. It's almost like an auction. So like you can buy something at the lowest bid possible. You know, say the contract is going for $500. You can put a bid in for $480. And if you catch it right at a bounce, you know, the stock goes low and hits a bounce, maybe your bid gets filled. You buy it for 480. But immediately, you know, if there's a bid and an ask, the bid is, you know, what you're offering to pay for it. The ask is what the person is trying to sell it for, right? So if the price of the contract is $500, the lowest bid might be trying to buy it for low, 480. They're trying to lowball. The person selling it might be trying to sell it for 520, right? So you got a $40 spread there. And in certain stocks like Tesla, if you get that fill nice and low, like 480, if the thing's hanging nice and healthily, almost immediately you can be like $20 in the green right there. You know, you can buy it for 480 and the value is at 500 the second you own it, because someone just happened to sell it to you nice and low. They just wanted to get out of it. They took that 480 bid, they bought it. And then if the thing bounces at all, you can be up like $100 literally almost instantly as soon as you fill, and then sell it for the ask, which I know this probably sounds like
that makes sense.
A lot of info, but yeah.
So you're doing that obviously with multiple companies. So how many companies are you doing this with, like in your time span in the morning, like, you know, on your daily?
It depends day to day. The thing with trading is you don't want to force trades and you don't want to over trade. It's not gambling. You don't want to just throw darts at a board and hope it sticks. You want to be patient. You want to know why you're getting into this trade. You want to know at what point you're entering the trade, at what point you're going to exit that trade. That's risk management. That's huge. If the trade doesn't go your way, at what point does it make sense to say, okay, this trading plan is no longer in place? And when you learn technical analysis, you'll learn how that works. You'll learn how to look for that and like what you would look for. And then you also want to know when you're going to exit the trade too. And there's ways to identify that. There's ways to identify about where the stock's going to go. So yeah, you want to make sure there's a good setup that's tradable. If the stock's just doing this and there's no setup and the stock's running like an ADD child on caffeine, you don't really want to trade that. There's no rhyme or reason. That's a gamble. So it depends. There's been times where I've been in as many as like 6 different stocks at once. There's been times where I've only traded one stock for an entire week.
Interesting. So at this point, you've been off social for the 6 months. So what's the plan here coming forward? You haven't, because I remember we talked briefly. You said you haven't gone to the gym either.
Yeah, I have not been in the gym for 6 months, dude.
So basically two
6
things.
months.
YouTube essentially got not taken away, but you decided to take it away. And then the gym. So what have you been doing in that time being with your free time? I know I
Yeah.
know you have the house over there
Yeah, the
for,
beach house has been awesome.
which
Well,
I've
I've been
been
living
to, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. You were. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been living up the summer like crazy. Free diving, snorkeling. I mean, just living in the water, which has been awesome. But yeah, I mean, I focus full time on the trading thing. And like I said, man, it's a huge skill. The way I describe trading is like it's a skill that really should require the same amount of schooling as, you know, getting into the medical field or getting into law. But unfortunately, it's the one skill where everyone has access to it right away. You know, like everyone can pick up their phone, download a trading platform of their choice and start trading and throw their money at things. And that's why everyone loses money. And they don't take time to learn the actual market or technical analysis or fundamental analysis or anything. And that's when they end up losing money. That'd be like if I like walked into a surgery room, an operation room and tried doing surgery. Like it'd go horribly. So learning this is a never ending process. I'm constantly studying. I have notebooks filled with notes. So I dedicate a lot of my time at the screen, obviously trading, mapping out trades, doing research for investing sake, not just trading. So the trading itself does take up, you know, it's a work day for sure. I'm always working with a
So it's a pretty full day for you then.
Yeah. That whole like, you know, the whole stigma of traders are just lounging by the pool with a laptop drinking a margarita. It's so unrealistic.
Those paid promotions.
It's a big mental, that wouldn't work anyway. You'd be so distracted. You'd never want to trade drinking. I mean, it's a big mental thing. You got to be in control of your emotions. If you feel at all extra anxious in a given day, like I've cut down caffeine to almost nothing now because like you can feel pretty grounded and be slightly anxious and it might make you a little more jumpy and you end up not staying disciplined to your trading plan and it could cost you money. So it's like, no, you got to treat trading like it's a very particular skill set that needs all of your attention and respect. So it's a full day for sure. And I love it though. I mean, it's constantly learning. And I also like the fact that it allows you to still be your own boss and pursue your own path. You're only going to be as good of a trader as you pursue.
How much time you put into it.
Right. Yeah. And you can call your own shots and make your own hours. So it's still like being your own boss and self-employed, but with the beauty of not having to be a visionary. The stock market's already there for you. I love that. I don't have to sit there and think like, all right, what am I going to do a year from now, video wise? What business do I have to branch off?
Constantly being creative with new ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice. If I wanted to, I could take a month off and not think about a thing, come back and continue trading it like nothing ever happened. I mean, that's I don't have to worry about my views diminishing.
Balance, it seems, for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So then, you know, do you miss the lifting aspect of it?
No, I haven't missed the gym at all. I've had to make myself do my little prison workout at home here.
Yeah.
I have dumbbells and I'll do like, you know, calisthenics, of course, and I'll do lateral raises and like arms and, you know, the basic at home dumbbell workout thing. If I have to make myself do it, dude, I don't miss it at all, which is really weird.
Surprising to me, considering, you know, it was such a thing for a young age for you.
Yeah.
Do you think it was because they were tied together from an early start?
I think that's exactly what it is. Yep. I remember always being shocked, man. We've had friends, we know people who were gung-ho into the fitness lifestyle and just quit, dropped off the face of the earth. Yeah, didn't lift again in a day in their lives.
That's how we met, was, you know, from that kid.
Yeah. And I remember always thinking, I was like, okay, I understand getting burnt out and not wanting to go balls to the wall with it. But I was always like, I can't even fathom how you would just be able to just stop going to the gym. Like I would still at least want to go lift. I could never get my head around it until now. I got burnt out. And my thing was, I remember talking long talks with Ariana about this. And my thing was the gym and work had just become so intertwined. There was no separation between the two at all. And so initially my thought initially was to, all right, back off YouTube, back off the business, still go to the gym though and just train for me. But it was impossible. Like when I noticed anytime I got stressed, like at trading, because trading was a lot of ups and downs and learning a new skill. Anytime I get stressed or fearful of the future, I would find myself just racing off to the gym. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to film. But then I'd be like, oh, you know, I can make a promotion out of this right now. Let me hang my belt on this bar and make a promo for the sponsors. And then that would turn into like, let me just film a video. I can do a cool video around this.
It's
What
different.
I realized, I'd tuck my tail and run back to filming in the gym every time I was in an uncomfortable place. And
so that was what you reverted back to. Interesting.
yeah. And I realized I think there can be a time for sure, and I'm probably getting there now, but I think there can be a time for sure when I'm able to return to training for me again and have it be separated. But it was very clear. I was like, all right, to get away from YouTube, to get away from this NWB comfort zone that has been your life and comfort zone for 12 years now, to get away from that, you're going to have to get away from everything, including the gym. For me, going to the gym and not trying to do the NWB thing is literally like having a recovering alcoholic go to the bar and sit around people drinking and just tell themselves they're not going to drink.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to work. So I had to separate the two. And then in doing that and getting away from the YouTube business, it's been eye-opening, man. I mean, stepping out of a comfort zone is the scariest and the most just like riveting thing in the world. I mean, you feel like you're getting like a second dose of life when you do that. Now, this is my second time doing it now. I did it again back when I quit the 9-to-5, moved 500 miles away from everything I knew, my family, and just dove in blindly to the NWB business, making nothing but scraps each month. I'm doing that again now, where I'm quitting the comfort of this YouTube life and all like the crazy mental addictions I got with it. Like the fame, I'm not famous. I don't have a big head. I'm not.
No, but you know, on a smaller scale, man, it definitely was.
Yeah, and
definitely
that gets addicted, man. I mean, like just the connections and the hookups you get, the shit you get for free, the places you get brought to, having people like meet you and want to take pictures. I never let that get to my head in an egotistical way. But it's a feeling, man, that's like, it's a high. It's a really addicting feeling. And so to get rid of that, and like it's your ego, as humans, our ego wants to try and identify with it too. We try to get validation from that. So it's like you're ripping yourself away from this identity you've created for yourself, as well as just like this fucking rock star lifestyle. And so that was like a weird adjustment. But in doing so, man, oh my God, it opened me up. Like,
well, you unlock new levels, of yourself through each tough time, through each like tough time that you go through. You probably learn so much about yourself that you didn't think was possible.
Yeah. And being off social media, not needing to share every moment of my life, being able to be more present, not worrying about how something's looking online, just being able to enjoy life in a way I haven't done. I found myself actively pursuing more hobbies now and things I never let myself do before. And it's just so freeing. It's like a second life. It's crazy. And so I think just experiencing all this new shit has made it so like the old shit, the gym is now the old shit. And it's like, I don't want to go back to that right now. I was like, I've done all that. I want to do this stuff now. And so I think that's a lot of what it is. But that said, I don't want to become a slob either. So it's like,
you never will be.
When I get back home, I'm here until the end of September, and I've been living up the beach life. When I get back home to my condo in October, I'm actually going to set up a little home gym in my basement, just so I can definitely, and then apply discipline to make sure I train at least, twice a week at least, and just get back into that swing again, just because I don't want to become sloppy. Health is definitely a viable thing. Staying active is important.
And you're pretty dedicated individual in general. I don't think you would ever let yourself get too out of shape where nothing's hanging over.
Right. Yeah. I'm at like the sloppiest I've ever been and ever want to be now. And we can tone this back now. My weight's actually not bad. My weight's actually only 190. Yeah. It's like 192-ish or something like that from 200. I lost muscle, but I gained a little bit of that body fat.
You gained a little bit of the Nick Wright fluff.
Oh yeah, especially in the stomach, man. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, nothing insane, as you can like nothing insane, but more than I'm used to.
Yeah, so, of course. For me, I think I would just end up dropping back down to 180 pounds, 175 pounds relatively quickly. I don't know though.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for the next, do you have any goals for the next year? Like, I'm sure you do, but what do you see yourself doing in the next couple of years?
Well,
house, I know, kids, for work.
No kids. I don't ever want kids. I'm good with being a career uncle here. Yeah. My only immediate goal right now, because it just consumes so much of my life and so much of my mind, is my only focus is just getting better as a trader, just
Mhm.
being able to make a comfortable, sustainable life as a trader. You know, and I'm only in it. I've been in it for about a year and a half now, which is still very freshman. And I've made it to where I've become profitable, and I even started paying myself from it. But it's like, I'm just getting started. And it's such, every single day, it's such like, you got to be so aware of your emotions and your mental game and your discipline. I mean, trading has taught me so much on, I've learned and grown more in these last 6 months from stepping away from my comfort zone and just focusing on trading than I have probably in the last 3 years. It just teaches you so much about your own character and forces you to improve your own character in the ways of discipline and being grounded and stuff like that. And so, yeah, right now my only immediate goal is just really get cruising and trading, man. I just want that to become, you know, big.
What you've learned from trading and your structure and your discipline, do you ever think back, man, if I had this during that stretch of the YouTube years, do you think like that? Or is it more so at this point, it took all that to get you to learn that shit?
Oh no, I definitely think back. I mean, yeah, it's both. I've used a lot of my past as a learning curve for moving forward in trading. Like, I've reflected on a lot of things that I did wrong or didn't do well or wasn't as disciplined as I should have been in my past. Did the recording save?
What's that?
Did the recording save?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
It happened the first time with Steve too.
Do you want to just repeat that last question?
I forgot what it was.
It was as far as learning the discipline and
Oh,
learning new
yes.
things about myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I change anything or whatever?
Yeah. Would you have changed anything about what you learned from all your discipline learning about stocks?
Yeah. So looking back at my past with YouTube, bodybuilding, and powerlifting actually was eye-opening for me a lot. I looked back and realized how much discipline I lacked and how studious I was not when I should have been. And I've applied that and I've used that to make sure I approach trading better. So yeah, I basically use my weaknesses that I've had in the past with my past endeavors to not make that same mistake with pursuing trading. You know, for an example, like an easy example is like powerlifting. When I first got into powerlifting, I kind of rested on my laurels of having strength already from having bodybuilding for several years. And then from there, I really just like let other coaches tell me what to do, like give me the programming, and it worked. I made gains, but it wasn't until way later on when I was doing big numbers that I really took time to study and learn programming and peaking and understanding the real biomechanics of a lift and the mechanics of the body in a lift and stuff like that. But like looking back, what I should have done is the very first month I began powerlifting, I should have been researching that boring stuff and taking notes. I should have been watching hours and hours of videos on biomechanics of powerlifting, on how external rotation works, of the hips, how the knees track with that, all this stuff. I should have been learning the science of programming, how to actually program, how to peak, how to program for when you're not peaking. This is the stuff I should have learned from the very start that would have made me a better powerlifter right off the jump. And then I wouldn't even have needed coaches, or maybe having coaches with that knowledge combined would have made me like an animal that much faster. So and there's examples like that throughout everything I've done in life. I've always been very good at being disciplined in sprints. If I need to do a contest prep, I'm all in, balls to the wall. But there's a light at the end of that tunnel, and I can reward myself and relax after that. I'm not good with the follow through. I'm good at diving in and sprinting and then no follow through. And I've just kind of been lucky mixed with, it hasn't been all luck. I mean, I put myself out there at a young age. I really dove into where people would be afraid to dive in. So it was like a mix of being ballsy and lucky, but like I could have maximized so many more aspects of my life and career had I just been more disciplined and really taken time to be more studious with different things. And so that's the mistake I'm not trying to make with trading. That's why from square one, if there's something I don't understand or something that's boring, I want to study my ass off and really understand it and learn it fast. I want to not make these mistakes and not learn things later.
I feel like it's hard to view a subject like that or know how to research a subject like that until you've gone through the stages of like beginner to expert in something.
Yeah.
Then once you realize, you're like, oh, I wasted all this fluff. So the next like task or interest that you go on, you almost search for what bullshit to get rid of, and now you know straight to go to the source.
Yeah, you nailed it perfectly. Exactly. Yeah.
I felt the same way about things. You know, it's like, wow, you know, I've taken 10 years for this bodybuilding thing to all this knowledge, and basically it boils down to these few things, these few principles essentially, and just keep on doing this. The more in depth you get with a subject, the more complicated you make it essentially.
Yep. And I've also used past things too as kind of perspective. So like if I ever get discouraged about trading, or I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not making a killing yet off this thing, you know, I'll look at, even again, the same example, powerlifting. I'll look at that and I'll be like, all right, well, remember how long it took you to hit a 500-pound squat for the first time? Like that took forever, and you thought you were going to knock it out of the park in the first year. Like there were times where I remember thinking I was going to go for it my first meet, and it wasn't until like maybe a year and a half later when I finally hit it or something like that. And then look how long it took you to hit a 600-pound squat compared to when you first started fantasizing about that. Like things just take time, but you eventually hit it. And then from there, so that'll like reassure me. I'll be like, all right, you're on the right path. You're making moves, and the progress has been in a forward direction, which is good. As long as you're going in a good, as long as you're making progress, then you're moving in the right direction. And then from there, I'll go back to what we just said, where I'll be like, all right, well, what could you have done to expedite that powerlifting progress if you could go back in time now? And I'll think, all right, yeah, I could have definitely learned more about this, and this, and applied this. And then I'll be like, all right, well, let's do that with this trading thing now. And just be more disciplined in general. Like little things like Ariana and I meditate every morning for 15 minutes and then journal about it. Just, it's really good at getting your mind present. Absolutely. And if you're anxious or stressed about something, or sometimes you just feel uneasy and you're not even sure why, it can really help you come back down to earth and realize why, like by the journaling. And it just helps you get nice and just grounded and present for the day. And for a while, there'd be times where I was getting really stressed, you know, with a lot going on. I'm running 2 houses here and learning trading. Trading can be stressful and all this stuff going on. And there were times where I'd just be like too anxious. I'm like, I'm not going to meditate today. I'm not feeling it today. I'm just too much going on. And she eventually, things would come to a boiling point and I'd snap. And then she'd be like, well, you're not even staying disciplined enough to make yourself meditate for 15 minutes every day. How are you going to stay disciplined to do anything else, let alone trading?
It fucks your day because it fucks your psyche of knowing what you're capable of, or knowing what you should do to have a better productive day.
Yeah. And then just the discipline in general. I was like, you're right. If I can't even make myself take 20 minutes out of a day to do something that's not labor intensive, it's not like I have to go run wind sprints. It's like, if I can't even make myself literally just sit for 15 minutes, if I'm not disciplined enough to do that, then I'm definitely not going to be disciplined to make a living off of trading or anything else.
It's stillness, right? It's the second we wake up as humans right now in this world, right? We're picking up something that's entertaining us at one point. I mean, there's never a time when I'm doing something without music, a podcast, something playing, something like stimulating me. So to take 15 minutes and actually, try and not be distracted by what external forces are going on and focus on the things you're grateful for, or your tasks for that day, or, you know, just to journal about the previous day or something along those lines.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And just keeping the discipline to make sure you do that too. Cause
it's hard.
It's meditating for 50 minutes. It's easy to be like, we'll just put it off today.
Look back.
I've been looking at little details. If you can't stay disciplined on the small stuff, you're not going to stay disciplined on the big stuff.
100%. I look back at my journals and I'll see the dates and I'll be like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, Friday was my day off. Nope. No journal that day. It was, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so there's I'm like, shit, I got to get better at those days. You know, even on your days off, you still got to be disciplined essentially.
Yeah. Ariana even said it because she's the one who got me into the journaling. And she even said it too. She goes, some days I really have nothing to journal about. Some days it's just nothing there, but I'll still just make myself say like, okay, I had a good meditation. Got nothing to say today. Like even just the act of taking a moment to write that down, it's still actively slowing your mind down. It's still making you be present for a second, and it's still practicing discipline. You're still making yourself do that same routine.
And it sounds like such a foo-foo thing, right? It's like, you know what I mean? You write down your feelings or shit like that, but it really does make a difference. You know, I encourage anyone to try it.
Huge difference. And it doesn't need to be like people hear journals. It doesn't need to be like, dear journal, today someone broke my
No.
heart. It can literally be like, mine have literally been like, I feel fucking pissed off and I don't know why. And then sometimes I'll feel like I'll do that with the intent just to end it there, almost like a quick vent. I'm like, all right, there I go. I made myself journal. But then it'll kind of snowball onto something. I'll be like, well, I do feel this way about this thing. And then before I know it, sometimes I'll write like 5 paragraphs, just laying my thoughts out. And I'll realize these things I didn't even realize before. And my mood will change from it. It'll be great. Like I'll be feeling anxious or uneasy and not even be aware of why. I'll think it's just random. And then after journaling, it's almost like venting to someone. It's like you lay everything out and you're like, wow, I just realized I'm afraid of this thing over here. And that's been stressing me out and making me put more focus on this or whatever, you know. It's cool. It really helps you lay stuff out.
It gives you an outside perspective, right? Because when our own thoughts, it's hard to look outside, right? So when we write it down, maybe our mind thinks it can visualize it's something else, right? So we're able to see a little bit more clearly of what actually is going on in our head.
Yeah, and the best advice I have is when you write it for yourself, meaning assume no one will ever see it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
So don't worry about structuring sentences correctly or wording things correctly. Write it for you.
Yeah, that's some good advice for sure. And hide it so people don't read it.
Yeah, right.
if you feel weird about it.
Yeah, exactly. I use Google Docs just because I type faster than I write. So
really,
Ariana writes.
Yeah, see, I physically, have a journal.
Mm-hmm. So does she, and she thinks there's something better about putting pen to paper on it, and I can see that. When I take notes, I do it on pen to paper. I have a whole notebook full of notes.
Yeah.
Instead of using docs, because it literally does stick in my brain better. And I can definitely see that. And I wouldn't be surprised if I tried it and ended up liking writing it better. But I just know for me, like I can type way faster than I can write. So for me,
of course,
it's worked well so far for me. So I just like typing out. I just looked at 40,000 words in my journal now.
Oh,
since
wow.
February. Since February. Yeah.
Good for
I just
you,
keep the same doc going. Just date it. Keep going. Next day, just date it. Keep going.
Good. That's a good habit. I'm glad you're getting into that. And last thing I want to touch on, I want to talk to you about your car real quick.
The Bentley.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Bentley real quick. You've had this beast for the last 8 years. Are you getting anything
10
new?
years.
10
years as of July. This past July.
It's a Dodge. How the hell is that still?
It's a miracle. Even my friend Nick Ferraro, Nick Ferraro.
Yeah, I know
he does best car tech in Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, for Beamers and all those
everything.
foreigns. Yeah,
everything. So I bring it to him, and even him and his stepdad Dean, who is also a wizard at cars. They're both every time like, man, this thing's a miracle. How did this thing last you this long without any issues? If it had issues, if I had to put money into it, I would have gotten rid of it. But
you really haven't had to put that much money into it?
Nothing. No, the only thing I got was what did Nick fix for me? There was one year where I think it was like an AC compressor. Yeah. And he's my boy, so we got everything real wholesale. Yeah, so it wasn't much. Cheap. So it was an AC compressor. That was about it, I think.
No shit. So you have no desire to get anything else?
So my desire to get anything else has been heavy. Dude, I am such a car guy, which is ironic. You wouldn't know that by.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised you never pulled the trigger on anything throughout the years.
What it was is in back when I started killing it with money, I was going to get something dope. I was looking at all different things. I looked at used Bentleys. I was looking at Mercedes SL 500s. I was looking at all these different cars, and I was going to get, but I made myself promise myself. I was like, you're going to get property before you blow money on a nice car.
Absolutely.
Just because it's way smarter. And I did. And what was funny is after I bought the property and I had the mortgage and everything, I was just like, I'm really sick of paying so many different bills every single month. I was like, I really don't want to add another bill to my life. And this car is free. I paid for the car in cash outright when I bought it all those years back. And so I was like, this car is free and it runs. I was like, I'm just going to ride it till the wheels fall off. And at the time I figured that'd be like another year or two. And so I was
just
planning.
Kept going.
I just kept going. And I thought, I've had my eye on the F-Type, the Jaguar F-Type. Woo, that's what I want. But the thing just kept going and going and going. What's really funny now, though, is, and maybe it's just living here at this beach house, man. It's getting that beach bum mentality going in my mind. Maybe this will change once I'm back inland again. But I was thinking, me and Ariana were talking about it. Because I trade now and because I don't go to the gym, her and we drive our cars like combined 5 times a month if we're lucky.
You adventure. over
Like
there around.
I'm like, we don't drive is what I'm saying. Like you can count on one hand how many times we use our cars
I'm
in
saying
a
you're saying
month.
you don't drive. Okay.
We don't drive ever. Like we had the same tank of gas all summer basically. So I was like, if my car ever went right now, like in the summer while I'm here, rather than having to like tow it somewhere and go look at car dealerships instead of like, and missing out in the summer here at the water, I was like, I would just throw my
Bike.
I would just throw my name on your insurance. I said this to Ariana. I was like, I just throw my name on your insurance and just use your car because I don't really ever drive anymore. And then, but she was saying the other day, she goes, even outside of this beach house, if this remains our lifestyle, you should just throw your name on my car insurance and just use my cars. Like, there's no point in having two cars, which is real. I never thought
Well, it's kind of true with your
that.
situation, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
with both of you.
I never thought I'd be that guy saying that. I love having my own vehicle. I love cars. So I've always been like, next car I get, whenever this thing does go, I'm gonna get something fun. But now I'm just like, dude, like we don't ever go. We go to the grocery store and we do that like once every 2 weeks at most. It's like that's it.
But she's got a nice little 328, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So that's our thinking. Like her car is newer than mine. It's nice. It's like it's good to go. So it's like there's no point in me going again unless I decided to start going to the gym again or something changed or I start driving a lot again. Then of course I get one, but there's no point.
Have you seen those bikes, the Super 73s?
No, what are those?
You haven't seen them? I think Christian has one, and I think Max.
Oh, those ones that look like bicycles and they're like motorized.
Yeah. They almost look
sick.
like, those look cool, but they're like, I think the Super 73, which is one of the most popular ones right now, is kind of like the boosted boards of the bike game. They're like probably, I think they're 4,500 starting or around $4,000.
That'd be pretty fucking cool.
But they go 35 miles an hour.
Yeah,
that's top speed.
I remember playing with Max's out in DC. I didn't know that's what they were called, or I forgot that's what they were called.
I don't know if his is a Super 73 because his is I think a few years older.
Yeah.
Now, but there's a couple new ones out that are pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. I've thought about that. The only thing is, in Rhode Island in the wintertime, that can be brutal.
It sucks because like if you were to get one around that area,
around here
you're at the beginning of the summer.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
Oh yeah. So that's the funniest thing. Speaking of the Bentley, though, you know how we've named the car Bentley and it's stuck?
The Bentley.
We've had subscribers, dude, ask if they can take a picture next to the Bentley. Like it's everywhere.
For everyone knowing, it's a Dodge Magnum. It's a 2008.
8.
Yeah, 2008. I don't know how I know that.
Yeah, it's an 08 Dodge Magnum. I got it back in 2011. I was 19. No, I had just turned 20 years old. I just turned 20 years old when I got it. And at the time, it was only 3 years old. 2011, it was an 08. And it only had about 63,000 miles on it, which was pretty damn new. And, but it just stayed running.
Dude, at the time, though, those cars were hot. Do you remember those? Like in the music videos? Like,
dude, they're in the How We Do
out
music video.
Yeah.
How We Do by Game 50 Cent. Manny Fresh, the Real Big video. House real big. Cars real big.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that.
They're in that video. They're big. Yeah, I loved it at the time. So we didn't end it Bentley because I always loved Bentleys. And then like the joke was, it was kind of big like a Bentley is. And so we didn't end it the Bentley way back and it just stuck and it became like a meme online. So all my followers and everyone literally like, you'll have people comment like, oh, the Bentley. I still get messages from fans today like, when are you selling the Bentley? Do you sell the Bentley? And can't believe the Bentley's still kicking. And what's even funnier, dude, is the other day, Ariana's mom, who knows nothing about cars, dude. You could show her the Ferrari symbol and tell her it's the Honda symbol, and she'd believe you. She knows zip about cars, right? She was in traffic, sends me this picture of the back of a Bentley that was in front of her, and she goes, Bentley. I saw this car and I thought of you. And then Aiden's her son, Ariana's little brother. He was in the passenger seat. Aiden goes, that's a Bentley. So I thought it was so funny. This woman knows nothing about cars, saw a Bentley, thought of my car.
And thought of you. Yeah, took a picture. That's
proof
great.
I have a Bentley.
Yeah. I remember when you actually had to stick a screwdriver in one of your videos. I remember there was a video you had to stick a screwdriver to the shift lock release.
Oh, of course you remember that. Of course. Yeah. That got fixed. I don't remember what the issue was. There was some issue where like, something with the drive, like the little cord that connects underneath the shifter broke or something weird. I don't remember what it was. So yeah, you had to take off the console and stick a screwdriver in there and pull the cord tight so you could shift it. It was horrible. We got that fixed right away. And Nick just fixed that one for me.
So, all right, let's say, down the road, let's say if if you could pick any vehicle at this point, right? If you could pick any vehicle to drive, if you didn't have a car payment,
Jaguar
definitely an
F-Type.
F-Type.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're saying like any car, like no limit to.
We'll talk about, let's say 2 cars, one your daily, and then one exotic that you would want.
Man.
I mean, it doesn't have to be an exotic, but
yeah. If we're going,
it's too hard to choose just one because you have different styles, right?
Yeah.
Or
If we're going,
uses.
we're going no budget here.
No budget.
We can go no budget. Forever, my favorite car was always the Lamborghini. Back in high school, it was the Murcielago,
Yeah.
But lately, man, I think I would probably go with my fun car would be the McLaren P1.
I don't know
nowadays. You know what the McLaren P1 is? Oh, they're sexy. Get like an all like gunmetal out, and then they kind of look like a Ferrari, Lamborghini. They're in that family. And then you have to have a daily driver. What my daily driver?
So this is all right. Hold on, I'm gonna throw this up real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Look at that one right there. That top left one you just clicked on. That looks pretty sick. It's all grayed out. I like that. Yeah.
So this guy right
I like
here.
that. Yeah. Some pictures of them, they look kind of funky. Like the yellow one looks a little funky. But yeah, if you ever go watch a video of it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool right there.
Yeah, they're sick, dude. And if you watch a video of it or see it in person, it's even cooler. They're so sexy.
So what's your one you were saying?
As a daily driver, I might get a Bentley.
Yeah.
I mean, they're comfy, they're luxurious. Or maybe a Tesla. Teslas are kind of fun to drive. I don't like how Teslas look, but they're really fun. Well, yeah, I got to experience Mark Bell's Tesla, and they're awesome to be in, and like driving is so sick. I don't like the look of Teslas personally, but they're great for driving.
Someone asked me that question the other day, and that's what I had said. I had said a Tesla for my first one.
Yeah. And
then a Lamborghini Urus.
Oh, really?
Those are fucking cool, man.
That's the SUV one, right? Or like crossover
it's kind of like a crossover. Like I've always loved the BMW X6.
Yeah. Those are awesome to drive.
Which didn't sell at all. They sucked. No one bought them.
Maybe I'm thinking of the X5. Oh, I'm thinking of the X5.
You're thinking of the X5. The X6 kind of like sloped down.
Okay, yeah. I've only been the X5.
And X5s are sick. The X5s I really like too. Yeah, but I would think I would probably take a Tesla and the Urus. Jared's had his Tesla for a couple of years now, and he hands down says it's his favorite car.
Yeah, dude, they're the experience of the experience of even if you just ride in one of those, the experience is not like any other car. They're really cool. I just don't like the look of them personally. They're not ugly, but they're just not exciting either.
They have their own look. Yeah.
Funny like the Urus. I'm not big on any of like I'm a car guy. I'm not big on any crossover SUV style.
I never was, man. But I've been slowly getting away from like
from the Acura.
From that, the good old Acura days.
Yeah, man.
So dude, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and doing this podcast. And by the way, this is episode 2 of Infinity Iron.
Oh, so shoot.
If you made it this far, thank you guys. I appreciate everything. And thanks for jumping on with me, man. We've known each other now for 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah.
And we met, I wouldn't say from the best reason. but I'm glad we did met because a real friendship came out of it, man. And I really do appreciate you. So thank you.
Oh, of course. Hands down, man. Great coming on here.
And next time I'm back in Rhode Island, I would love to come down and use you for your beach house.
Yeah, you should. I miss being used. It's long overdue.
That was a fun day, man. That was a fun day that we had. It was over
man.
2 years ago now. It's crazy.
Dude, we've had a lot of fun summer days. Me and Ariana, we got started dating with like you on the beach. I remember we went with you and Kay, I think, back in the day, and like
it was me, Kaylee.
There's a few different times. I think one time was just you. One time was you and Kay. One time was you and like Bobby and everybody. I think there's a few different times that we went.
Wow, that dates back, dude. I was 20.
Yeah, that's crazy.
9-10 years ago. What the heck?
It's wild. That's wild. It's crazy, man.
It's cool, man. It's cool to see that you're still doing well, and it's cool to see everything's going great for you. And I wish you just as much success in trading as YouTube, dude. And please say hi to Ariana for me as well.
I will, absolutely. Yeah. Hope to see you soon, man.
Yeah, next time I come down, I'm thinking maybe around December, around Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
Maybe coming down. If not, then I might just wait until the summer next time so I can
Yeah.
catch some beach weather.
Oh yeah. I like the setup, by the way. Dope background.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it took me, I've always wanted to start something up, and I finally bit the bullet. But those
It's
two are
cool.
actually disc plates.
Oh shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, so those two are disc plates, and then Jay, I bought that from Jay, and he signed it and everything too.
That's so sick.
I got 2 lights behind there, and
Yeah. Jay's always been your idol. I love it.
yeah, he's the GOAT. He's white. He's the GOAT. He's from Massachusetts. He's from Boston.
Yeah, I always loved his business sense too. Back when I was starting on YouTube, I remember looking up to him because he was like the only Olympia branding himself at that time.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he's very quiet back then, but now he's opened up. But yeah, I've always just kind of looked up to him, in that area. So
dude, he was all I chain washed in my last show prep.
I've got all his DVDs, the One Step Closer,
So do I. Cut above all of them.
A Cut Above, Rip to Shreds.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, I actually
Awesome.
did I did his, I think it was in 19. I did his November show last year.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
2 years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you've been killing it. You've been killing it on stage.
Yeah, getting there, plugging away, bro. Plugging away.
Cool that you're still as into it as you ever were. Like you didn't fizzle out or.
I can't let it go.
Yeah.
I can't let it go.
That's cool.
I'm giving myself, I think, in my head, 35.
Yeah.
35 sense. Kind of regardless. I'm pretty realistic with what I think I'm capable of, so I know if I keep on, I'm 29. Yeah.
29. You're only a year younger than me?
Yeah. Yep. I'm in August. Crazy. So I just turned 29.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I just turned 30.
Mm-hmm. Are you August or are you July?
I'm
right?
June.
June? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was in the summer months.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I'll keep on plugging away, and then by 35 I'll switch gears and dive into something else.
Hell yeah.
Some awesome, other man. athletic thing. So
yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, man, we'll link up again, and thanks for sending me all those things as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna put something together. Dude.
Yeah, well, when do you think this is gonna drop?
Probably next Thursday.
Hell yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna film with Justin tonight, and
awesome. Yeah, I assumed you were gonna have him on soon. So
yeah.
His journey's been pretty cool too. Like from starting off as just like that really short, funny kid that was like not funny, like he was like literally like he'd crack jokes, like, but he was like that short kid like hanging out and drinking with all of us at like Bobby's house in the backyard.
Yeah.
To now being like this pro guru, it's like whoa.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
He seems like he's really knowledgeable too, right? He coaches. Does he do your diet?
He does mine. He's been doing it since 2013. Yep.
Yeah.
He's just easy to deal with. I'm so easy, right? Like people send a thing and I'm like, okay. And then I'll talk to you when you need me, I'll just follow it. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, he has, 150 clients and he works a full-time job.
That's awesome.
He's making dough. He's doing well. So
his style cracks up. The man never smiles. He's always just like Jay Cutler style.
He's so straight faced. I know.
Yeah.
All the time.
So. He has one of those. It's funny. He has like one of those. I guess you call it voices or speech patterns that like I like listening to him speak.
Yeah.
Like some people just have that. Some people like you can just listen to like their podcast forever. Like he'll do like these Instagram videos where he like gives like tips on this or that. And like his style of speaking is so easy to listen to. So I think that'll actually be a really cool podcast.
Stan Efferding, I also think is like that. Because I remember a couple of his videos, he doesn't pause. He doesn't say ums, anything. And you can tell he works on it. I mean, you can tell there's thought behind how he speaks, and he's gotten to this slow, pace where he can concisely like speak. It's nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'd like to put more focus on that for myself. My thing was I always turned on speaking for the camera, for public speaking, like drop of a dime. Like you want me to speak well and not use them, I can do it as long as you want me to do it and ad lib. And so now when I do podcasts, I try to get away from that. And I try to be so present and really treat it like a real conversation. And then I realized in doing that, it makes me more like, well,
you do, right? And that's the thing. Doing these, I'm trying, in my head, you have this play of like, all right, how do you want this to go? How do you want the interview to go? And I always think back to Joe Rogan. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, the less you try to do, I feel like the better. The more natural, the more you, the less, you know, being done is always better in a sense.
Yeah.
It always comes off better. So, you know, I just keep on in my head. I'm like, dude, what are you thinking about? Just fucking talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
a conversation, don't you know? So
exactly. So cool, man. Looking forward
right,
to it.
bro.
Looking forward to checking this one out and hearing the next one too.